Alrighty, what is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another one. Today we're going to be doing a live stream. We have a few topics we're going to be hitting on here. Obviously, by the title, you can tell some of the topics we're going to be hitting on. Obviously, today the Patriots re-signed Mack Wilson. They bring in a ton of free agents for workouts. Obviously, no actual additions today, but a lot of workouts that could lead to some signings. Going to talk about some of those and kind of break some of those down. Any of kind of like my top kind of players that they worked out today. Talk a little bit about Jerry Judy. I already made a video on this. The Patriots being interested in Courtland Sutton and Jerry Judy. They actually already called the Broncos about those guys. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, break down. Not too much, just because obviously I did make a video on it. So if you really want to know all the details about Jerry Judy and Courtland Sutton, again, made a video on that. Go check that out. But we will touch upon it in this video a little bit. We'll also have a couple Patreon members joining us here shortly. Obviously, if you want to join the live streams when I'm live, like as for today, all you have to do is become a Patreon member. Like always, in every single video, it's the first link in the description box below. All you do is sign up. It's $10 a month at minimum. You can do an extra tier if you want to give back to the channel. Best way to give back to the channel, again, it's once a month, $10. Get to be in a Discord chat with me and the other Patreon members. We talk a whole lot of football constantly throughout the day, every single day. And like I said, when I go live, you guys get to join, such as my annual draft party, which we might do it day 2, but I know day 1, we're definitely going to do it like usual. And from the beginning of the draft to the end of the draft, it's me and the Patreon members. We sit down, we react to it, we have fun. So if you want to be a part of that, become a Patreon member. Link in the description below. But like I said, should have some guys coming in here soon to be on the live stream with me today and kind of talk about, their opinions on some of these moves and some of these topics. And then towards the end of the stream, of course, you guys will have the opportunity to ask some questions. Like always, though, no matter what part of the chat we're in, any donations always will get priority. That's just how things work. But you guys know that there's only one way we like to start every single video. Let's get hyped. Let's get ready. A lot to break down this week. So let's just do it. And let's roll that Patriots Global intro once I find it. There it is. Alrighty, guys. Well, first off, before we even touch on these topics, we're going to not know what that was. We are going to start with Mack Wilson. But first off, I do want to thank all the new subscribers that have joined as of late. The last few days, we've really blown up a ton when it comes to video statistics, video views, and just a lot of new members coming onto the channel. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. I do appreciate each and every single one of you. Actually, about 54% of my viewers are not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, hey, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. There's really nothing holding you to it. It takes less than a second, and you can get notified for all my uploads. We'll have you covered for everything involving the New England Patriots and even some of just the big moves in general. I literally cover everything involving New England, including a lot of my opinions, some free agents they can go after. With free agency coming to a close too, we're going to be hitting the draft. A lot of mock drafts are going to be happening. We're going to be doing a subscribers mock draft, a you pick mock draft where we're going to be live, but you, the audience, actually is going to make the picks. And then Patreon members, if you're a Patreon member, which I just talked about, you will send me your mock draft and I will actually be reacting to it in a video. So a lot of good stuff coming up. But we already got a donation to start today. So shout out here to Shamari. I believe I'm saying that right. I am terrible with names. If you have not learned yet with my videos, you'll learn very quickly. But straight off the bat, you said, will the Patriots offense be better than last year? 100%, because they have to be better than last year, right? They can't get much worse than they did last year. They were actually better after the bye week, as you can see Chase in the background, of course. But as for the Patriots offense, again, statistically, it can't get much worse than it did last year. And really every single offensive statistical category, they took a gigantic step back, being one of the worst, if not the absolutely last ranked. in, again, pretty much every single offensive statistic compared to the 2021 season to the 2022 season. Why is that? It's not because of personnel. The Patriots personnel improved from 2021 to 2022, adding Devontae Parker. Obviously, you're hoping that those guys can get acclimated a little more. Yeah, he's not even going to be quiet either. Hopefully those guys can get acclimated more in year 2. Obviously, hoping to get more out of Jonnu, and none of that happened. Obviously, Kendrick Bourne takes a gigantic step back too. So what does that come down to? It comes down to coaching, and that's ultimately what last year did come down to. So again, with better weapons than I think the Patriots had in 2021, because I still think they're going to add, along with much better coaching staff, I expect Patriots to be a whole lot better. And I actually think that we will be better than 2021 too, because we're getting a new offensive mind in here. I think it was just getting so redundant when it came to Josh McDaniels and what he was running. It was so predictable and whatnot. So again, having a new offensive coordinator essentially come in, I think is going to be a massive difference. Like I said, I don't think we're necessarily done adding just yet, but let me fix this real quick. Looks like we have some people coming in. Might have to change this if we end up getting Neil in here. Let me just change the graphic real quick. This is going to look silly for a minute. There we go. Reggie, what's going on?
What up, PG? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So someone actually just asked a great question, and I'd actually love to get your opinion on it. Somebody asked, do I think that the Patriots offense is going to be better than last year? What do you think?
I mean, it's hard to think of a case where it isn't, really. I mean, if you think about the coaching staff, and I mean, I just go back to Mack's rookie year, and I feel like the actual roster got better the following year, but we didn't see the production on the field. So I feel like with the additions that we've made and a competent coaching staff, inevitably, things are going to look a lot better.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine a world in which it gets worse. I don't see how it gets worse. Again, obviously with Bill O'Brien coming in, it's going to go very much hand in hand with, I think, implementing a not necessarily a new scheme, but the Patriots' old scheme, kind of go back to the days that we were successful, just even in 2021, running that old scheme, but also implementing more of a more youthful scheme, that Alabama scheme, which is only going to make Mac Jones more successful. And obviously Bill O'Brien being that offensive coordinator is only going to make us more successful. And it looks like we also got our boy Neil Ray in here. Let me switch up this graphic real quick. There we go. Neil, man, how are you doing?
Good. How about you, bro?
We're chilling. We got Reggie. We got Neil. Neil, what do you think, before we move on to Mack Wilson and just some of the other news, what do you think? Do you think the Patriots offense is going to take that leap next year? Do you think we're going to be equivalent to what we were last year? Is it going to be better? Is it going to be worse? What are your thoughts?
Are we talking about the 2023 season, just to clarify?
Yeah, this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, if we get our ducks aligned, like everyone says, right, we should be fine to get 11 wins. I'm not going to say, hey, bro, we're going to get to 12, 13, 14 wins, bro. I'm not stupid, going to be unrealistic like that. I think we could definitely pull 11 wins. I think we could be a solid, definitely a better team, especially if we pull 8 wins with a Patricia, why can't we pull 3 more with a Bill O'Brien? Especially with the inputs that he had on the players that we got, and Mac Jones being more comfortable with this team. I think with the free agents that you signed, the old tackles that you signed, the running back that you signed, after finding out how good he is, personally, I didn't even know how good he was until PG and Rob both told me. So it's, as you can see, it's like kind of coming together in a solid team. I can't say it's an elite team. Even if we draft really well, I can't say it's elite. I could say it's really good, and it's going to be competitive. I think we got the right person at the helm in the offensive coordinator position, especially when you look at the O-line. You got a great O-line coach who's been successful with Oregon and taken the team who's been near bottom of O-line stats. And so he came in and took him about 10 spots above, which is ridiculous, I know he had a failed tenure in the Steelers, but he bounced back after that. So I think from the way the structure is, we're definitely going to be better. I mean, don't forget, we still have Ty Montgomery in the backfield, Ty another running back. We're basically mimicking what Philadelphia Eagles has now set. People don't understand. Philadelphia Eagles have four running backs. It's including their quarterback. Okay, they invented a three-headed monster, which we replicated into our own, which helped us win a Super Bowl. Now they made the four-headed monster, which we're trying to replicate as well. But we'll also do and try to do our own pieces. Probably get another tight end that we talked about, Gillespie, right? And then you have your receivers that you have. So, hey, man, I think it's looking like a good team. Can't say 12 wins, man, but hey, I think we
Yeah.
could definitely get into the playoffs. Maybe we can win a game or two.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to be touching upon this video. Actually, let me make sure I write that down because something I want to remember. Touching on the AFC East with Aaron Rodgers essentially coming and what that's going to be like. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. And I think that ties hand in hand with, what you just said, Neil, about, how many wins are we going to get? Is it going to be the playoffs? Because, I mean, the AFC East is just loaded. But before we get into that, obviously we have a little bit of news here today. It's not been as crazy today as it's been yesterday and whatnot. But still a little bit of news. The Patriots re-sign linebacker Mack Wilson to a 1-year deal. This is going to be a deal worth up to $2.2 million. So it's not a whole lot. Honestly, I doubt he's going to get to that 2.2 overall mark. I think the base value is like $1.2 to $1.5 million. So not a whole lot. I know that there were a few teams that were interested in him. The Browns were interested in bringing him back. What are your guys' overall thoughts on the Patriots bringing Mack Wilson back? Is this a move you guys like? Is this a move that you kind of stand back and you go, what's the point? Reggie, we'll start with you. What are you thinking?
I mean, I like him. He's good on special teams. He's a hard hitter, and I feel like they got him at a decent price. I feel like in general with our roster, there's not a lot of superstars anywhere, but I feel like we have a good foundation. And even thinking back a couple years ago, when the Bills objectively had a significantly better team, yet we were still fighting for the AFC East at the end of the year. So it's like same thing last year. We were a couple wins away from being competitive for the division. So I think our roster in general from top to bottom is a lot more competitive than what a lot of us are giving it credit for. And additions like Mack Wilson allow us to cover some of those holes in our roster and really draft turning it over to the draft the best player available and not have to do necessarily what they had to do with Cole Strange last year, where it was, we need a guard. So we have to get the best guard that's available, even if we're overdrafting him. I feel like now, where maybe a week ago, I would have put cornerback, behind offensive tackle. I feel like if Christian Gonzalez, for whatever reason, drops to 14, then if they really like him, they might be in a position to take him instead of having to take, say the top 3 tackles were gone and then they had to reach for a tackle. I feel like they kind of, set the foundation to be able to take the best player available. And I think that's just a general philosophy on how they approach roster building, which, again, we don't have a ton of blue chip talent right now, but we're just a couple plays away from, being in last year's case, being a 10-11 win team. And, and then we think back to Mack's rookie year. And then the year before that, we were, with Cam Newton, and we still almost were a 500 team with absolutely nobody on the roster. So I think since then, our roster has gotten significantly better. And, it's addition like Mack Wilson that allow you to be good all over the place and not have any gaping holes. So I like the addition. I think he's a good player.
100%. Neil, what are you thinking?
Yeah, Mack Wilson, man. I like this guy from the jump when we first signed him, man. He's a sneaky signing. I know he's converted more to special teams, like PG you told before when we were talking in the chat. But I like him, man. He's good depth. He's a solid guy. He could jump in when you need him to, and he's always performed well for us, man. So I have solid pieces like that to get key linebackers back. It's a fundamental thing with the Patriots, especially with their defense, to have your linebackers back. It's very makes you happy, man. You have solid core now, especially with him. He has good leadership abilities too. He's a veteran. Let's not forget that. So that makes it a lot better. You have that set. You have people on the D line set. So it's like you haven't meshed together really well. You could create a lot more pressure too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's all in all, it's well. I'm happy they did that. I'm looking forward to more signings, though, to be honest with you, PG. I want to see what they do to create cap space. It's pretty easy. We all talked about Henry and Judon clearing that by extending it. If you could do something like that, and push that forward and make a shot for somebody. I mean, are you guys still in for Judy? I hope they are. I don't think so, but we gotta make shot for something at this point. You gotta keep shooting. You gotta make something of it. If you're not gonna do that, at least get a tight end, something feasible, something that would be useful in a 12 personnel set. Not all the time, but sometimes. If we could do that, then we got a pretty solid team. But once again, it's gonna also come down to Mac, bro. It's a prove it year. It's basically what Hurts had. It's pretty much was a prove it year for him, right? He got loaded with the receivers, right? And he did it, right? He took it to the Super Bowl. How much more can you give than that, bro? You didn't win it, but you took him there, right? So it's like it's gonna be up to Mac now, and they're gonna look at him like, "Yo, bro, we could easily draft the guy next year. We can
Yeah.
move up and get a guy." All right, bro. I mean, he knows that. He ain't stupid. He knows this. So it's like you're gonna put up a shut up, bro. Because we're gonna go into the playoffs. You're gonna take us there. You're gonna win us the game, or if you don't, then look, we could look at another dude. And if you're not gonna perform as you should, I think you should get 30 touchdowns, maybe 11 picks, and I'll be fine with that. But you need to get it going. And I'm not talking about no 2,800 yards. I'm talking about get back to 3,800 or 4,000 yards, bro. We're trying to turn over here, but I'm not trying to get you to 40 something. I'm not asking for that, but at least be a good quarterback to get what you're worth paying and what you're going to be. And I think he's a franchise cornerback. I think he'll prove it, but time will tell, man. This is it to show it to him.
100%. And, yeah, as for the whole Mack Wilson signing, I think I made it pretty clear to you guys when we were talking kind of about the situation overall in the Discord chat, was that I'm not against having him back at a certain number, but if this is going to be the move you make at linebacker to give you depth, I don't like it. I have a video dropping about some news that we got about a day ago that the New England Patriots have a level of interest in free agent linebacker Nicholas Mara. This is a guy that I really like. I'm not going to talk a whole bunch about him because obviously I'll be dropping a video that I already recorded later today about it. But that's the type of guy that I really like, a guy with special teams ability who can play there for you, but also can play defense and can be an actual starting piece for you. He played over 1,000 snaps for the Chicago Bears last year at linebacker, played 100% of their defensive snaps while also playing on special teams. So that's a great 1-2 punch. And he was going to be somebody that actually gave you that ability on defense. Still fast. He's a coverage linebacker, sideline to sideline speed. And I feel like he could be everything that the Patriots thought that they were getting from Mack Wilson. If we go back and we look at this trade that happened about a year ago now between the Patriots and the Browns, obviously Patriots gave the Browns Chase Winovich. Browns gave us Mack Wilson. It was a very rare player for player swap. Ultimately, I think the Patriots won that trade. I mean, it's not like it was a blow you out of the park, but the Patriots obviously did win that trade, getting Mack Wilson back. Chase Winovich did nothing. Now he's with the Texans. But you look at it, and at the end of the season, Mack Wilson played a total of, and I told you guys this in the Discord chat, played a total of 20% of the Patriots defensive snaps by the end of the season. And in our final 5 games, he did not play a single defensive snap. With that being said, this guy is a special teamer, and I think he's a good special teamer. That speed shows up on special teams. It really seemed to never show up on defense, really, but it showed up on special teams, and he made a lot of good plays. So my question is okay, Belichick, is this going to be a special teams move, or is this a guy that you're looking to, again, put as a rotational linebacker? Because, we're all out here saying, the Patriots need a linebacker. People are taking him fairly high in their mock drafts. And I don't think it's realistic, because I don't think we're in a year where, or in a decade anymore, or just in an era where Belichick views linebacker as an elite need. This isn't drafting Jamie Collins. This isn't drafting Dante Hightower. They just don't seem to really care about that position. They want to get average play, and they're okay with that. They don't care about being elite there. They rather say, you know what? I want to put that money in the defensive line and the secondary. I don't care about putting it into an elite linebacker, because at the end of the day, they seem to be pretty content with Jawan Bentley and Jelani Tavai. Those are your two linebackers. Now, we did sign Raekwon McMillan, but I didn't see much from Raekwon McMillan either. That proves that he's a roster lock. He's a guy that's going to have to fight for that roster spot also. So I don't know. Again, if Jawan Bentley gets injured and he's had injury history, or Jelani Tavai just can't keep up next year what he was able to build upon in 2022, you're still going to need linebackers, and you do need depth, and you do still need rotational pieces. Why not bring in a quality guy? Again, a guy like Nicholas Marrow shouldn't cost you a whole lot, doesn't have a crazy market. I know the Browns, which it seems like the Patriots are always just going against the Browns when it comes to their interest with players, but there's not a whole lot of interest. Why would you not bring in a guy and put that money to someone who's going to play on special teams, but also can contribute there for you on defense? I mean, again, you don't need to spend anything crazy. You don't need to go get Bobby Wagner. That's okay, although it would be great. You don't need to do that. But just imagine if we could get some actual linebackers here on top of what the Patriots defense already has. I think that could take us to the next level. I know our safeties play a lot of hybrid linebacker, close to the line of scrimmage, a little on the D line, playing a lot of block, a lot of box. But you do still need your linebackers with, again, kind of some of the question marks we even have at safety. So again, you even look at Mack Wilson's statistics that I, kind of want to share with you guys here. He did have a good season with the Patriots in terms of what he's done in the NFL thus so far, but not enough to make me confident that he's going to do anything for our defense next year. He appeared in 17 games. He only started in 3, though. He had 1 pass defended, 1 forced fumble, 1.5 sacks, and a combined 36 tackles with 2 tackles for loss and 2 quarterback hits. There's not much there. Again, go get Nicholas Marrow. I love it. I think that he's a guy that would fit really well. So I don't hate it, and it's probably what it sounds like. But again, I would have been perfectly fine if another team ended up signing him. I wouldn't have said, oh, well, this is a loss by any means. So again, we'll see what comes of it. Obviously, you're getting a guy that knows the system, and you can never go wrong with that. But I don't know. I just think that there were better options that the Patriots could have gone. But next up here, I don't know if you guys heard, but the Patriots brought in quite a few free agents. Now, we did talk about the one guy. I don't know if you guys have anything to say about him. If you do, I'll, obviously put it to you guys first. But free agent wide receiver, I'm going to try to say this. Olabasi Johnson. I think that's how you say it. If you know the news, you know the news. But you get a pretty good idea on who that is. I don't know if you guys know anything about him. You guys have anything to say about him?
No, I honestly don't know anything about him, bro. That's a wild first name, by the way. That is a wicked first name.
It's tough. He's.
I give you props for trying to pronounce it.
I tried. I did, and I might have gotten it right for all I know. But so a little bit about him. I don't see this being a signing that goes much of anywhere, and I'm okay with it. He's a guy that's really number 3 at best. He's a guy that in his rookie season did pretty well in 2019. Wasn't bad. Did pretty decent in the end zone. Put up like 3 touchdowns, but a little over 200 yards. Didn't do anything crazy. He would be on the same par as, like, if you guys remember, this is years ago, but like as like an Austin Carr who did great in the preseason, or even more recently, like a Christian Wilkerson. He could be like a guy that comes in, you have some expectations for him, looks pretty good in camp, shows out in preseason, and then people are disappointed when he doesn't make the final roster, or he does make the final roster, but then does absolutely nothing. He's not going to give you much of anything at best. Again, he's a wide receiver 3, but the big reason I would stay away from him is mostly because he hasn't played football since 2020. And the reason he hasn't played football since 2020 is because he tore his ACL. It was Achilles or ACL, but I believe it's his ACL. He tore it twice twice since 2020, and that's why he's not played football. He's young, and maybe he could come back from it, but 2 torn ACLs since 2020 at a young age. He played 2 seasons in the NFL, 2019 and 2020. I'm just not confident that he could really do much for us. I think that it's kind of just a wasted roster spot, but I get the idea. Maybe a diamond in the rough. This is the time to do it, but I don't really think that it goes anywhere. But with some extra news here, this is the one I really wanted to break down, and you guys will have an opinion about this, I'm sure. You may have heard, you may not have heard, the New England Patriots have brought in former New England Patriots defensive end Trey Flowers for a workout. Reggie, we'll start with you. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I thought he was good for us. It probably helps that Matt Patricia's not not here, not going to be coaching him, but I think he's a good player. I think, I don't know how much, like what percentage of the snaps he'll actually end up playing or who he'll end up playing over, but I think he can absolutely contribute for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Neil, what are you thinking?
Trey Flowers, man. I've been begging for this, man. It's like a homecoming, bro. I would love it, bro. It's like me and your boys back in high school, and you guys all got your career straightened out and everything, and you're married, and it's like, yo, what's up? And he's still good. It's like that type of good feeling with that dude, man. That dude could really be very useful, man. Like he could provide a good spark into it. Not say it'd be nasty or crazy, but pretty good. But also provide the leadership and knowledge to the young people like Uche and Roberts and the whole D line pretty much to teach him more proper ways of getting to the quarterback. That's what he was for us. He was a wrecking force in the D line for us, and he was a wrecking force after he left us. Let's not forget that. He still is pretty good, and I think he can still make a good impact. Somebody like that who still knows our system, still knows how we operate, he's plug and play pretty much. Just a little shake and rust off his shoulders. I think he's still be good. And it'll give great relief to a guy like Judon who gets burnt out by 14 games because, well, he needs help. And nobody else on the other side is consistent from game 1 or game 2, But yeah, it'll be pretty good, man.
What do you guys think it'll cost?
I would say probably the veteran minimum. I would say somewhere between like 1.2 to 3 million at most. I don't think he's going to have a market. If this was like a few years ago, like if this was like 2017, 2018, maybe it's a little different. I do think it's interesting that the Patriots around this time actually brought him in for a workout last year, and it ended up being nothing. And you guys kind of hinted on something that I thought was a little bit interesting. Now, obviously, Matt Patricia was still here last year. I know that a lot of players in Detroit, when Matt Patricia was there, had a lot of issues with Matt Patricia, and they wanted nothing to do with him. They don't want to be anywhere around him, even if he's the head coach or not. I don't know if Trey Flowers is one of those guys, but I think it's interesting that a year later, the Patriots are still bringing him back for a workout. So maybe there's a world in which, hey, they brought him in for a workout. He was like, yeah, I just don't want anything to do with Matt Patricia. And they were like, all right, well, maybe when he leaves, we'll retry this. And now it's a year from now. They're bringing him back, kind of seeing what he has. And obviously Matt Patricia isn't here. So maybe I'm not reporting anything, but maybe there's something there in which they're looking into something. But Trey Flowers, he's not the guy he used to be. When he was here in New England, he obviously set his market. He was one of the top tier defensive ends in the entire National Football League. That gave him that big contract with Detroit during 2019. If we look at even this most recent year, he only played a total of 24% of the Miami Dolphins defensive snaps, with a total of 65 and 3% of their special teams. He really did not play for them at all. He signed a 1-year deal. Obviously, they let him go. He only played in 4 games, though, so I should also say that. And I don't think he was in the rotation much at all. His statistics were pretty much nothing. I mean, 0 sacks, interceptions, forced fumbles, fumble returns, 4 total tackles, no tackles for loss, 1 quarterback hit. He did pretty much nothing, which is exactly why I'm saying he's essentially not going to cost the Patriots much if they do decide to bring him in. I think it's interesting because, again, he really hasn't done much in terms of his career outside of New England. Obviously, when he was here in New England, wasn't anything crazy. Like, he never reached 10 sacks in a season, but he was still leading the Patriots in sacks because at that time we didn't have like a guy the caliber of Judon, but putting up like 7 sacks, 7.5 sacks, 6 sacks. He was still productive for the Patriots, 100%, especially in terms of like quarterback hits. Like, he would put up like 20, 25 quarterback hits for the Patriots. So, he's a guy that was definitely productive. He goes there to Detroit. And in his first year with Detroit, actually had a pretty good season. He put up 7 sacks, but after that, the year following, only puts up 2 sacks. And after that, kind of just fell off. I think if anyone's going to bring him back to who he is and that true ability, it's going to be the Patriots, because obviously, even after he left the Patriots, he went to Matt Patricia and the Detroit Lions, who obviously was utilizing him there in New England. So again, if he's going to get this career of his back on track, New England's going to have to be the team to do so. I would bring him in at the minimum, obviously cut him at the end of the summer if things don't go well. But, if not, you sign him to a 1-year deal. You get him on a very, very low contract. And if things are looking really good with Trey Flowers, like he's the old Trey Flowers, maybe there's a world in which the Patriots trade somebody like Josh Uche. They pick up some draft capital, and then you draft a defensive end earlier on in the draft. And at least for 1 year, you're okay because you have Trey Flowers being productive for you. So I think that that's a good way to look at things. I wouldn't be against signing him as long as he looks good. But again, make it to where if things really aren't working out, you can cut him at the end of camp and not have to worry about any dead money. So that's kind of my thought process there. But I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that, for the second consecutive offseason, we're bringing him in for a workout. So I think it's worth talking about. And obviously, edge defender is a little bit more of a need for us. It's an underlying need with Josh Uche being a contract year and all. So just something to think about. But next up here, as we kind of touched upon the guys that were at least were reported as of now to have been brought in for free agents. It was confirmed yet again. I don't know why. I feel like topics are just always like re-reported just with different words. Like, we've heard about Jerry Judy for a while now. I made a video on Jerry Judy and Courtland Sutton being people the Patriots actually just called the Broncos about the other day. But it was reported just recently, like within the hour, that the Patriots have officially contacted the Broncos and are talking to them about a potential discussion. Other teams that are interested in Jerry Judy, and I know that somebody did leave a super chat about Judy, so I do want to bring this up, which is why I'm touching on the topic. Shout out to 1023 Entertainment for the $2 donation. He says, we need Judy in all capitals. So he seems very confident that we need Judy. But again, other teams that are reported that contacted the Broncos specifically about Jerry Judy and kind of seeing what those terms are and are following the situation closely. It's the Patriots, the Dallas Cowboys, and of course, the Browns. So Reggie, we'll start here with you. What are you thinking about Jerry Judy, this whole situation? Do we need him? Do you think he makes the difference? And realistically, do you think that it happens?
Yeah, I'm a big Jerry Judy guy. I love the player. I just think, us just signing Juju Smith-Schuster, where he plays primarily out of the slot as well. I feel like there's a lot of overlap there. So I would have, and plus, I don't know if they're going to give up. I don't know what they would have to give up, but if it's anything more than, pick 46, and I don't see them giving up a first round pick or a second and a third, just to then have to also pay Jerry Judy $20 million a year, something close to it. I like the idea. And I think, going back to my earlier point where they get to pick the best player available and, are setting their roster up so they don't have any, or at least too many glaring needs that they have to address in the first round. If Zay Flowers, drops to 14, or, I think JSN also has some overlap with Juju Smith-Schuster, but I feel like, are you gonna pay that draft compensation and pay Jerry Judy to have him play out on the outside, where he can play, but it's not where I feel like it's the best use of his skill set. So I was very high on Jerry Judy a couple weeks ago, or maybe even a week ago before they signed Juju. But now I just think, we need a different type of receiver. And just because there's a lot of overlap between him and Juju. I don't know what you guys think.
100%. Yeah, Neil, what do you think, man?
Honestly, bro, I like Judy for a while, but the way now I'm kind of seeing this team getting structured, from the Patriots standpoint, I think paying a number one first round pick. Hold on. Paying for a first round pick for him? No. We need a corner in the first round, or edge guy, or even a tackle. To put that much investment into him, and on top of that more, I don't know. And then it's going to cost you a lot to pay him on a yearly basis. Just the way we already spent money and the way we're trying to do with this team, as far as I see, in my opinion, I'd rather go after Sutton. I've seen your video, PG. It made me like him more now. It made me like him more now. Now, I'm not saying he's the number one, right? He's a really good number two. I know we talked about doubling up. I'm looking at it in the sense of, hey, we get a tight end and then we get this guy. It looks like a very solid, formidable team that could hit you in so many different ways, So it's like Sutton can definitely go deep. I'm not saying he's a nasty number one, but he's a really, really good number two, and I think we could push him more. So I think if you look at that, a cheaper option in terms of draft capital and in terms of pay, we could work something out with more so with him and a realistic option than Judy. As much as I would like to have Judy, I don't. Now it's out of the realm, man, bro. We would have done this if we really wanted to. We did Juju. Why we couldn't do the other receivers that quickly? If we really wanted to, we could have. We had 30-something million, bro.
Yeah. So, when it comes to Jerry Judy, first off, I want to say big shout out again to 1023 Entertainment for the $2 donation. Really, really appreciate that, man. Also want to give a quick shout out here to MB. $2 donation just says, love you, PG. Love you, MB. Really appreciate just that $2 donation for just some love. Really do appreciate that, man. So shout out to you. But when it comes to Jerry Judy, I think it's crazy that at the trade deadline, the asking price was like a second and fifth, and now the asking price is a first and more for Jerry Judy, as if this man has been a top 5 wide receiver, a top 10 wide receiver. He's been neither of the two. And obviously Sean Payton's there. It's a little bit different. So you can't just be like, oh, well, they randomly switched their minds. It's a different front office, different head coach. It's a little bit different. But I don't see who's going to give that up. If no team was willing to give up a second and a fifth at the trade deadline, who's going to give up a first and more? Now, maybe you could say, well, it's the offseason. They kind of reestablished. Teams are different. They reset every offseason. But I don't think a team reset enough to the point where it went from a second and fifth to a first and more. And depending on the first round pick, maybe there's a team that does so to beat another team to Jerry Judy. Maybe a team with like the 30th pick or the 31st pick, go ahead and they do that to beat a team that's only willing to give up a second round pick. Like for us, a second round pick is one thing, but a first round pick is different because we hold the 14th overall pick. A team like the Chiefs, maybe, who, if they were in on Judy, would go, all right, well, we have the last pick in the first round. It's essentially just a high second round pick. We don't care. We're going to get a guy who could be a first round pick. Let's just give up our first round pick overall. They're obviously going to take that first above us, but why would we give up our 14th overall pick? He's not worth that. So that's something that I could ultimately see happening. But like I said, the only teams currently reported with interest and have talked to the Broncos about Judy are the Patriots, the Cowboys, and Browns, and that could always change. As for his contract, he's going to be headed into the final year of his rookie 4th-year deal. I think it's about $5 million. So it's nothing crazy. Money-wise, the Patriots would get a really nice number. Obviously, they're pressed up against the cap just in terms of it's Belichick. He never extends the money. He'll extend it slightly, but he's never going to do anything to massively extend it. So, what we're looking at is it could extend a little bit, but don't expect it to be extended by like another 20, 30 million. It's just not going to happen. I'd be so surprised if that happened. So getting a guy that you can get on budget is probably more what you're looking at, which is why it would make sense for someone like Jerry Judy. Not to mention the fact that you have that 5th-year option, which I think would be a little over $10 million if the Patriots did decide to do so. I don't have that exact number right now. So essentially they could have him for 2 years under contract. So it makes a lot of sense that the Pats are interested. But like I talked about in my video I just posted about Judy and Courtland Sutton, the thing about Judy is that he's never proved to be a wide receiver 1. And sure, you look at the issues with the Broncos. He had Drew Lock and whoever their other quarterbacks were behind Drew Lock for the longest time. Okay. And then other than that, you had this past year, Russell Wilson and the Broncos just have a massive fall. Okay. You can also go as far as to say all the wide receivers they have, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Judy, like a lot of those guys are obviously producing. It's going to be hard for him to put up that amount of yards, but if you're really that good of a receiver, you'll build that repertoire and you'll get to that point. He hasn't put up over 1,000 yards. I want to see real quick, actually. I don't recall if he's put up 900 yards. I can't remember.
I think he has put up 900 yards before.
Has he?
Maybe once, maybe PG. I'm gonna look it up too. Maybe.
I think he has, but I don't want to tell anyone.
No, you don't want to say it. Exactly.
So real quick, yeah, he did this past year.
There you go.
This past year was actually his best year, and he put up 972 yards and 6 touchdowns. So almost 1,000 yards for sure. But again, he still has not done so. And you look at what he's done since joining the league. 2020 to 2022, I mean, 856 yards, 467, and then 972. I just don't know if he's proven to be a true wide receiver 1, and that's kind of my issue. I think he's shown the ability to, and those numbers 100% with the right team and the right system, especially with the Patriots that like don't have the depth at wide receiver that a team like the Broncos do. He could easily come in and be wide receiver 1. The problem is again, that asking price that the Broncos want is easy, like top 5 receiver, maybe top 8, but top receiver compensation and true wide receiver 1 compensation. And he's not that. And Belichick won't get into a bidding war. He doesn't really ever. He does sometimes, like Jonnu, but he'll rarely push on a player just to get him. And I don't see him going into a bidding war in terms of draft capital in order to get Jerry Judy, who hasn't proven that yet. But let me tell you, I think Jerry Judy is important for the Patriots to get. I don't want to say he's a must for them to get. I think a wide receiver 1 is a must for them to get. But I think that he is what will really open up this offense. Like, if the Patriots go into next season with what receivers they have now, I do have concern because I say, well, how much better did you really get from last year to this year in terms of receivers? You got better. You got better because I think, and I don't see why anyone would say he's not, Juju Smith-Schuster is an upgrade from Jacoby Myers. They are very similar, but he is easily an upgrade, and he's way better when it comes to yards after the catch. But to me, he's a wide receiver too. And you look at years that he's been asked to be a wide receiver 1, whether it was with the Steelers or whether it was with the Chiefs or whatnot, the years that he was able to be a wide receiver 2, he performed so much better. Because when he's asked to be the number 1 guy, the number 1 talent, the number 1 receiver on the team that gets, that the defensive coordinator game plans against specifically and gets double teamed and goes up against the best cornerback or safety that the team has, he doesn't produce as well. Versus when there's a guy that can take some of that attention away and give Juju the ability to get open, he'll do it, putting up a 1,400-yard season. He put up almost 1,000 yards this past year with the Chiefs, but that's when he's not asked to be that number 1 overall guy. So again, I think if you bring in a Jerry Judy, you bring in a D-Hop, you bring in maybe a Courtland Sutton, then it opens up the entirety of this offense. But if you go in pat where we are now, I just have concerns. And you guys hit on this also when it comes to where he's going to play. He's mainly a slot guy. Obviously, at what, 6'1", he does have the ability to play on the outside too. He's versatile. He's not like he just has to play in one specific spot, but he is more of a slot guy. The Patriots easily filled that with Juju. So do they say we want a perimeter guy because we want to specifically have Juju and our wide receiver one on the field together for, let's say 70% of offensive snaps per game? Maybe, but maybe Judy's not that guy then. But I don't know. I'm not too pressed against it. Like if they made the move, I wouldn't say, well, now we just have 2 slot receivers, because it's not like it's Julian Edelman who was like, or Braxton Berrios who are like, they're specifically just slot guys. Like they can still play the outside, but yeah, that's just kind of my thought process there on Jerry Judy. We'll see what happens. Happens. But
PG, real quick. I mean, like the conversation with Juju is he put up 1,400 yards with Antonio Brown. So we're asking him. So we don't want to ask him to be a wide receiver one. Because he's best suited to be a wide receiver too, and have somebody take, the best cornerback on the other team so he can have more one-on-ones. Isn't that the same conversation with Jerry Judy? Like, he has all this talent on his team, and yet he has never had a 1,400-yard season. I just, I'm a big Jerry Judy fan, and it's just when I'm giving compensation, significant draft capital, I want somebody like AJ Brown. Like I know, if we give a first round pick for AJ Brown, I know he's going to come here and be the guy. I don't feel it's not like I feel leaps and bounds better about Jerry Judy coming here and being an unquestioned number one than I do Juju, right? I feel like you could make an argument that Juju might outproduce Jerry Judy in this offense. So it's just, if he was a free agent and we just had to pay him money, then that would be one thing. But, I'd rather, and again, I think right now and in 2023 season, you'll get more out of Jerry Judy than you would with, drafting a receiver, right? But I think I'd rather take that chance on that wide receiver that could be, somebody that we have here under a cost control contract for, 4 or 5 years, that can actually be the guy instead of not only, and I don't know if Judy would demand a contract, this year or next year. Like if, I wouldn't be opposed to giving a second and a fifth and then letting him walk, and getting a 3rd round comp pick back. Like I think that's something that they would be in for. But in terms of having him come here and be the unquestioned number one, again, he hasn't done it. I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm just saying, it's a big price tag for, somewhat of a projection.
No, yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. And to me, so like overall, although they have a really good wide receiver core in Denver, the number one guy is still technically Jerry Judy. But I think you bring up an excellent point. Like if he comes to New England and you're giving up this draft compensation, like let's say that they are asking for a first and more and the Patriots just do it. You don't want that guy to just put up like 700 yards or 800 yards for you and be like, well, I look at everything I just gave up for you and you didn't do much. But then you look at Juju and it's like, okay, well, he just put up like 1,100 yards for the Patriots. They should have just stuck with him. So overall, when it comes in terms of him with the Broncos, he is technically the wide receiver one for them. So I do think that when he does get those looks defensively, defenses are looking at him saying, okay, let's circle him. He's wide receiver one. Although there's other good receivers we have to worry about, he's the guy that they're going to utilize as number one and the guy that we have to worry about the most overall just with his skill set. But I also think that there's a world in which that's why the Patriots have to go with a number one wide receiver, is because you have to open up Juju. Like at the end of the day, we need to get production, right? And I think that's where Bill Belichick looks at a wide receiver one and he has to ask himself, what does he value more? Does he value having draft compensation more, or does he value having more cap space? Because if you want more cap space, and you don't care as much about draft capital, go get Jerry Judy. If you care more about your cap space, or excuse me, if you care more about draft capital than cap space, then you go out and you get DeAndre Hopkins. Either way, you need that wide receiver one, because again, if we don't get someone to help open up Juju, I do have concerns. And maybe Hunter Henry can help open him up. I'm just not confident in it. I think there's a world in which he can. I'm just not confident in it. But I just think overall too, like Jerry Judy just really fits what the Patriots want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is a very good technician. He is one of the best route runners in the NFL. Obviously, the first one being Devontae Adams, but he is easily one of the best route runners in the NFL. He has 4.4 speeds. It's nothing crazy, but he's quick. He gets off of the line really quick, which is essentially helping him with his acceleration and just getting open quicker, also and down the field quicker. So I just think when you build a guy in like a factory, if you're Bill Belichick and you're building a wide receiver in the factory, I think that guy essentially comes out to be somebody like Jerry Judy. So I think he fits really well, but I think you guys bring up really good points on, hey, Juju was really brought out to be a better receiver when Antonio Brown was here. Kind of those looks with Judy in Denver. So you guys bring up some really good points there. I do want to pivot before we do talk about Aaron Rodgers and the AFC East a little bit. The Patriots have made a move. So with some breaking news, it's unfortunately nothing crazy, but we do get some on-air action. The New England Patriots have signed lawn snapper Joe Cardona to a 4-year contract, and the deal includes a $1 million signing bonus. I'm excited to see what the contract terms are. He's a lawn snapper. It doesn't mean much. It's not a crazy signing, but you get a guy who's been in this culture and this system for a very long time, and you need a lawn snapper at the end of the day. The Patriots in season, the last couple seasons, have looked into like lawn snappers, probably in case Joe Cardona left or whatnot. But he's been a big guy to this Patriots team, more specifically off the field. And yeah, they get him signed to a 4-year contract. There's probably not a whole lot of thoughts on this, but you guys have any thoughts on it?
I mean, I think it's a sneaky big deal, especially with Jake Bailey not being on the team, and who knows what we're going to do with Nick Folk. So to have, 3 new specialists in that sort of, role, special teams operation, I think would have been kind of tough. At least you have like somebody that's been there for a long time. So if we end up replacing Nick Folk, at least it's not a completely new, specialist group.
100%. What about you, Neil? Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's good to bring Cardona back. He knows the system. He's been here for some time now. It's actually especially good to bring him back 4-year, not just like a 1 or 2-year deal to get somebody else on the road. That way, you're solidifying yourself for 4 years. You have nothing to worry about long snapper. So it's like not a huge deal, but something that's very solid. Like it's like a key nut. I say in a piece that you're making a whole piece that without that might cause some problems. You know what I mean? It might sway a certain way, it might move in a certain way where it shouldn't, or might cause a dysfunction. So it's like it's a good solid piece to extend for some time and not worry about somebody holding the ball properly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like you said, it's not the sexiest move. It's not the biggest impact move. It's kind of like a punter, right? Like, I feel like before Jake Bailey and these issues we had last year, everyone was kind of like, okay, cool, it's punter. He's going to come and kick the ball, and that's just kind of going to be that. Until after the issues you had, and you go, all right, yeah, like let's look into punter, and this is serious, and it does play a factor. Like you realize once it does something wrong, because they're not going to make sexy plays, but like they do prevent big plays, bad big plays, like negative big plays from happening. And Joe Cardona is a big part of that, because I mean, you have a lawn snapper in here that isn't acclimated with the players around him, and just doesn't have that communication with the other players. And now you're having issues when it comes to punting the ball, and it's misplaced with the balls and fumbles, and it becomes a much bigger problem. So yeah, 100%. That's like when Jelani Tavai first got here, and we had him blocking for punts when Jake Bailey was still here, and he wasn't doing it very well, and it led to punt blocks constantly. It's like not a sexy move at that position for where he was currently, but it makes a big impact. But yeah, so Joe Cardona does sign. We get our lawn snapper back here, signed to a 4-year contract, get him locked up. So again, nothing sexy, but we got some news. Now we do have a big donation here. Biggest donation of today's chat a $20 donation here from Diehard Pats fan. Diehard Pats fan always showing out much love constantly, always giving back in these streams and always popping off heavily. So big shout out to Diehard Pats fan. They said Juju is a great pick. He's going to bring positivity to the team. I disagree with those that say he is not an upgrade. 85% in critical situations is still better than 83%. Small improvement, yes, but still better. Do you guys have any thoughts on this comment?
Yeah. So first thing, I definitely agree with him. I'll shout out Diehard Pats fan. He's been watching you for a while. He donates a pretty good amount, so definitely shout out and respect to him. He makes perfect sense, man. He's more than just like a little thing. Definitely a great pickup. If you look at a one key thing, average per reception is over 12. This guy could definitely get you more yards than Jacoby Myers as well. So he's not like guy's gonna just catch and just be right there. He's gonna get you extra yards. We're talking about 10 more, 20, 15. So I think it's a great pickup, but also the energy thing, it's huge. If you bring positivity to a team and bring engulfs everyone, you know, we had Cam Newton, man. As bad as we were going, as trash as things were going, we were still able to put out some crazy stuff, you know, to beat Baltimore, stuff like that. But it comes down to like the positivity or being very positive, and that energy bringing that also elevates the team. And he is that type of dude. Look at what KB did for the receivers, bro.
That's great.
That's a huge example right there. Edelman, with his grit, is like you bring that type of attitude, that type, whether it's positive or grit or focus, it changes the team in a different way as well. So I think he's impacts it mentally and just a different physicality that we got as a player. He can line up outside. Don't tell people that you can't line up outside and catch the ball outside. That's not his primary thing, but the man can do it if he could put him to it.
100%. Yeah, I think you hit on a really good point, and I think Diehard Pats fan hits on a good point too. You know, he's still better than Jacoby, no matter what anyone's opinion wants to be. How good is he? I think, or how much better is he than Jacoby? I think is probably the bigger discussion people should have. Not who's better, but how much better is Juju than Jacoby. But like Diehard Pats fan hits on, 85% better compared to like 83% is still an improvement.
Any improvement is welcome.
That's big. So I definitely agree with that. Even in terms of people saying like he's a TikTok boy, he's going to be making TikToks, he's going to be on social media. Like, bro, as long as he's not doing anything disrespectful or doing anything that he shouldn't
as long
be,
as he doesn't desecrate the organization, who cares?
Exactly. Who cares if he's out here doing something like making TikTok? But it's like, we can still have fun. It doesn't always need to be serious. It can still be fun.
Exactly.
Reggie, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I like Juju as a player. I mean, he was a second round pick. Jacoby was, and I know that, you know, where you get drafted isn't, you know, doesn't necessarily mean, you know, all that much. But not only was he drafted in the second round, he was drafted by the Steelers, who have a good track record of, you know, drafting good receivers and, you know, spotting talent. So I think he's a good player. I'm excited to see. I think he's also a good fit. And he's going to get done exactly what we need him to do. So hopefully it's not the only addition. But, you know, to your point, PG, if we roll out with this wide receiver group and play a game tomorrow with competent coaching, I still think we're better than we were last year. And if we actually play Kendrick Bourne and we get Juju involved, I think, you know, it can be a decent, wide receiver group as is. I'd love to add somebody, but yeah, I think Juju is, you know, he's a good player. He has the potential to be a great player here in New England.
100%. And Tom, I see you joined us. Do you have any thoughts here quickly on, Juju?
On Juju? Yeah. Juju's definitely going to be something interesting to watch, especially that the Patriots just figured, you know, Juju is a better value for us than re-signing Jacoby. So I'm really excited to see what the organization really thinks and how it's going to translate onto the field. I did want to share, because I don't know if you remember in the Discord, but I always say that I have my sources. I wanted to share you some of the details of Juju's actual contract that
Please do.
So, as we know, Juju Smith-Schuster he's making $16 million guaranteed. He's getting a signing bonus of $7.9 million. His base salary of 25.5 is guaranteed. The base salary is guaranteed. He's going to get about $60,000 each game for a roster bonus every year from 23 to 25. There's going to be a lot of incentives in his contract. So if he gets a certain amount of yards, we don't know the exact yardage yet, but if he gets a certain amount of yardage in 2023, he's going to get $1.5 million for that. If he gets a certain amount of yards in 2024, he's going to get up to $3 million for that. If he gets a certain amount of yardage in 2025, he's going to get another $3 million for that. So a lot of incentives in this contract too, with this 3-year deal for Juju. And of course you got the 16 million guaranteed, but it could go anywhere from 16 million up to 33 million, depending on how he wants to work and how he wants to play in this organization.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like that's just like that's exactly a Belichick contract, right? Like, hey, I might not give you a massive contract fully guaranteed, but you know what? I'm going to give you a decent contract that's guaranteed. Might not be as much as some other guys that you feel you may or may not be better than, but I'm going to give you the ability to make more than those guys. It's just totally up to you. And at the end of the day, the Patriots are given a better contract.
A certain amount of yards, and he's got $7.5 million in his back pocket, along with up to about $60,000 for each game he plays. And on top of that, I also wanted to share with you guys another little inside nugget. If you notice, Matt Patricia is officially gone. And the reason I'm saying he's officially gone is on the 2022 contracts and 2021 contracts, when he was the senior football advisor, his signature was on those contracts. It was a little MP with a circle around it. But now the contracts are coming in for like Jason McCourty, not Jason McCourty, I'm sorry. I mean Jonathan Jones and, some of those other guys. And now it's showing Matt Groh's signature.
Interesting. Matt Groh has been stepping up a lot in the front office, especially this offseason.
PGs, does that mean he's creeping more and more to getting more and more GM powers at that point? Put your stamp on a contract. I know it means one thing. We all know Bill Belichick's still there, right, doing his contract. But to have your stamp and your name on it, addition to whatever you've been doing right now, just makes you think it's inching more and more close as the years go by of Groh being the GM.
I could see it, but it's not something I would guarantee. I think Belichick has to keep doing Belichick things, for lack of better words, for that to happen. I don't think that Kraft's going to just randomly pull it out under him and say, you know what, why not just give it to Groh, right? I think Belichick, has to continue to not make moves or disappoint the fan base or make bad moves that hinder the team for Kraft to say, you know what, I'm taking those duties away, focus on being the coach. I'm going to give this to Groh. But what I will say is that Groh has been given the opportunity to pretty much fully take over for the most part, the reins when it comes to the draft and the draft process. Belichick's not in that as much as he's been the last few years. So I'm excited to see what he can do in terms of the draft. He did great last year. We had a good draft the year before that. So let's see what he can do this year.
I also wanted to share, I just got the wire from a source. The wire, for those that don't understand, is all the transactions that occur in the league all day, and it's usually circulated between the teams. I have a source who happens to have access to it and just sent me a PDF here just to look at, and I see that New England did finally release Brian Hoyer. Let's see what else. We have those 5 visits. You have Chris Board, you have Trey Flowers, you have Olabisi Johnson, Taylor Rapp, and Andrew Van Ginkel. They all visited today. And also some pro days. Merrimack's going to have their pro day on the 23rd at about 1:30. Penn State's going to have their pro day on the 24th at about 7 in the morning. And I also wanted to touch upon a contract that I actually got a hold of. Did you guys know that the Patriots actually signed Devin McCourty to a 4-year contract despite being retired?
I did hear about that because I heard people like going off being like, oh my gosh, he's back. And it's like, no, he's not back. It's to push the numbers down into to a couple different years.
$1.165 million for this season. And then for 3 seasons afterwards, it's $10 million a year. But those years void if he's on the roster at the end of 2023, whether it's on the retired reserve or something else. So that's something that's just a little interesting, the way that Bill Belichick manages the cap.
Yeah, 100%. I know there were a couple of free agents we ended up missing. Some news kind of came out since we were first talking about those guys. As for Taylor Rapp, he's a guy from the Rams that I wouldn't mind at all. He was the guy that I'm sure a lot of people saw in the video when the Rams won the Super Bowl, proposed to his wife. If you saw that video, that's him. He's not going to make as big plays as Devin McCourty, but he can still make those big plays. And he's an actual free safety. Works a little in the box, but mainly a free safety. I think that he'd actually be a good addition. As for Andrew Van Ginkel, he's a guy that reminds me a little bit of Kyle Van Noy, can kind of take over that type of role if the Patriots bring him in. I'd actually really like that addition. I think that could be like a new informed version of like a Kyle Van Noy. So the rest of those guys we pretty much talked about.
And what's interesting is that internally, Taylor Rapp shows up as a defensive back.
Yeah.
You mentioned him as a free safety.
Yeah.
Free safety.
But transitioning kind of here into our last topic, what are your guys' thoughts? I want to talk a little about the AFC East and kind of get everyone's opinion here. Obviously, some game-changing news for the AFC East, as nothing's 100% official. They're still working things out, but it seems pretty much 99% likely that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the new starting quarterback for the New York Jets. Something I will say is that he did have basically a wish list, basically saying, hey, Jets, you guys need to do these things if I'm going to come there. And we've been hearing a lot about them being interested in those players, which makes a lot of sense, which it kind of confirmed that he will be coming there. They signed Alan Lazard. That is Aaron Rodgers' guy. Now that Devontae Adams is with the Raiders, basically said that he wants them to look into Cobb. He wants them to also look into Odell Beckham Jr., which I know they're doing. And yeah, they're looking into adding basically any guy that Aaron Rodgers is telling them to get, and they're at least doing due diligence. Obviously signed Alan Lazard, who's a very good number 2. I wouldn't say he's a number 1. Nothing to be super upset about or scared about, but definitely a bigger addition compared to what they already have. But what are your guys' thoughts and kind of an outlook on the AFC East now that the worst team in the AFC East, a team that we've beat, 13, 14 times in a row now because we absolutely own them, now gets a one of the best quarterbacks, I would say, in the history of the game. Not top 5, but I would say probably easily top 10, in my own opinion, in Aaron Rodgers. What are your guys' thoughts here?
I want to see how he actually does in a Jets uniform, because if you remember 2022, he didn't look like his usual self. And you also got to worry about I'm just going to break a bit here. The Eagles are keeping Darius Slay. Just got reported by Ian Rappaport.
Yeah, no surprise.
Going back to what I was saying, the Jets, with that O-line, what time is Aaron Rodgers going to have to throw the ball?
That's fair. That's a good point.
And on top of that, you got to worry about different systems. You also have to worry about the fact that Bill Belichick just seems to have the Jets' number all the time. I mean, we've beaten them every consecutive time we've faced them since December of 2015. And we haven't lost them in regulation since that playoff loss. I mean, what does that say about your organization? What does that say about, the way that they plan for this team? And I'm not convinced entirely that bringing in Aaron Rodgers is going to be the fix that this New York Jets organization needs. I'm convinced, at least I think for now, that it's going to be like the story of Brett Favre. You guys remember when he went to the Jets?
That's
he
crazy.
Had that controversy with the pictures, and he wasn't quite that impressive. He was just another brick in the wall.
Yeah,
so
man,
I need to
crazy.
see how Aaron Rodgers actually plays on the football field before I can really have an opinion on him as a New York Jet. And keep in mind, we got to wait for the news to actually come out. He could back out at any moment.
He could. I would love that. I would love for them to get this close, bring in those guys, and then him to back out. And like what I will say,
the most Jets thing to happen though.
That would be and of course Brett Favre went to the Jets too, and it was this whole thing. Of course he's following the direction. I actually think that Aaron Rodgers went on that quiet retreat and basically was in silence for a few days, whatever. I do think that he planned on coming out of that and being like, you know what, either I'm playing for the Packers or I'm retiring. I really don't think he just wanted to go somewhere else, but I think that he got out of that retreat basically by himself, no social media, in the woods, like just by himself for a few days to clear his mind. And he comes out hearing rumors while on this retreat to figure out what's going on that he's looking to be traded to the Jets. So I think he felt that as a kind of a slap in the face and is basically like, fine, I'll go to the Jets. I want to go to the Jets. And I think he's motivated now, to be completely honest with you. But, Neil, what are you thinking about this?
Yeah, he's motivated for sure. I think I definitely think that's what's happened in the retreat and everything. It's a great addition to the Jets. But I go back to Tom's point. It's a very dysfunctional organization itself. As many key great pieces they had, we go back to Revis and their nasty defenses that they had that competed against our teams, but still couldn't finish. You had times where they made it to the playoffs, I believe around 2010 or so, but didn't make it to the Super Bowl. So it's like, I think Aaron Rodgers would be really great for him, and I think they'll, bring around the pieces for him and everything. I just don't think they'll be the type of team to bring Super Bowl. Because not only the organization, but if you look at Aaron Rodgers, the last time he had a shot, it was a couple years ago, and he lost to Brady. We can't make excuses, because he lost to GOAT. Well, isn't he regarded a GOAT too? That man's posted so many crazy statistics, so many comebacks, so he's not regarded as one of the GOATs as well. I think so. I think he's going to retire as a legend, but it's like, so you're still loaded on both sides of the ball. You still can't beat Brady. I think Rodgers' time was winning the Super Bowl was up a couple years ago, bro. And I think Jets is just too dysfunctional of a team to take this man and really combine something with him, win a Super Bowl.
He's not their missing piece.
Huh?
He's not their missing piece.
No, he's not, bro. I would have stuck with White. I'm being honest with you. I think everyone's going to go off on me.
To be the backup for Tua.
I'd rather get White.
The last time the New York Jets won a Super Bowl, the Beatles were together.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I really liked White. I think he proved himself to at least get another shot. Give the kid another shot. And he's cheap. Build around him. You got a great new coach. You're building the defense very young.
Rodgers falls through. I mean, all the backup solutions are signing. In fact, Drew Lock just re-signed with the Seahawks, just as I'm saying.
He falls through even if he does decent. How many years can you pay this man? And how many times can you surround him with the players that he wants?
We have a Jets.
They got a lot of young talent on that team. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they'll win the Super Bowl. As a Patriots fan, I'd rather them have Mack Wilson. I look at how close the games were last year, and where games where Zach threw 2 or 3 picks. And it's like they were still in the game. So I know, if there's something that Aaron Rodgers isn't going to do is throw interceptions. So
we'll just have to see that chemistry with Robert Saleh and their.
Sure, I mean, he'd take him far, man.
I think the Jets were a quarterback away is what I'll say. Like, you look at their defense, they have a great defense. And it proved to be very well for them. I think that they have a good running back who could be generational. Now, he did go down with a torn ACL. Sometimes players don't come back from that, especially as a running back. We'll have to see if he can do it, but he was looking very, very promising as a rookie. They had that. They obviously have Garrett Wilson. They have a young receiver who's looking good. I think if they had a real quarterback last year, like, we're talking about the Jets in a much different manner. So again, how is he going to look? How is he going to look is my question. But I definitely think it's scary.
He's going to push it to the playoffs. He'll win some games. I'll be honest with you, PG, stays there for a couple years more. They could surround him. He could be a person that could take him to the Super Bowl. No joke. That's Aaron Rodgers for you. If you build around the right pieces around him, he could take you there. Just a matter of can they finish. Jets have always proved me that they can't finish, bro.
Yeah.
How we whooping them since 2015. Yes, how we keep whooping them since 2015. I'm sorry, bro. It takes you that long. You still getting whooped?
I don't know. I don't think either way. If you bring Aaron Rodgers in, your time to win is now. And if you're the Jets, you have to give up every asset you have to win now, because Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be around for 4+ years. Like, he's been thinking about retirement for how many years at this point? It's a matter of time. I think, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he only plays for the Jets for a year or two if this actually does go through.
And they better win, because if they're going to give up all that capital and whatever they have to give up to get him, they have to win now. And that's what they got to worry about.
Exactly. 100%. Well, we're at about an hour and 14 minutes. So we're going to take just a couple of questions from the chat, just only probably like 2 or 3. And then we're going to end this one off for today. So put some of your questions in the comment section while I try to look for a good one. One thing while that is being put in the chat, I do want to say, got a little bit of an update here on Jerry Judy. So to kind of go further upon that asking price, we know that they were asking for a first and more. It's now reported that they're asking for a first-round pick or a high second-round pick and a good player. So something to put in the mix there. A little update.
And the Jets just re-signed their offensive lineman Adam Pankey, according to Tom Pelissero.
Like you said, Tom, they need more O-linemen, bro. You make a very key point. How are you going to protect Rodgers?
That you have to focus on fundamentals. If you're going to think like Bill Belichick, you got to focus on the fundamentals first.
So Michaela brings up a good question. Michaela, I always see you on Instagram in the DMs. You're always out here showing love to Patriots Global. So I want to just give you a quick shout out for that. But you said, do I prefer D-Hop or Judy? And this is a really good question. First thing I want to say, I'm hearing the Patriots are out on D-Hop literally just a few hours after hearing that they were talking to DeAndre Hopkins. So haven't heard anything since hearing that they were out on D-Hop. Obviously, that was one report. You never exactly know. But the most recent that I'm hearing is that they're not in on DeAndre Hopkins since they have signed Juju Smith-Schuster. I would personally... That's a tough one. You know what? I'm going to spin this to you guys first. We're going to start here with Reggie first, and then we'll go to Neil, and then we'll go to Tom. But yeah, Reggie, what do you think? Would you prefer D-Hop or Judy?
I prefer, I think DeAndre Hopkins is a better receiver. I know he's 30, but especially with Jerry Judy playing in the slot, I think D-Hop is more different than Juju. You'll have more opportunity to put them both on the field. But yeah, just like DeAndre Hopkins is just as an overall player, even though Jerry Judy is a little bit younger. Well, 100%. Significantly younger in football years.
Yeah. All right.
I go straight to D-Hop too, man. That dude's a threat. I don't care if he's 30. This guy's not 30. Hell no. Forget about that number and throw it in the trash. You see what he did yesterday after coming off injury? Tell me what receiver does that after coming off injury. Bill Belichick came up to him and got put on the mic and video showing how much he praised this kid. So the fact that you miss half the season and still put up the yards that you put up, that is scary. That is petrifying. And to get him with our conditioning coaches as great as they are, look what they did to Henry. What are we going to do with him? Keeping him healthy, bro. I think Hopkins is better. That is a true number one that could go deep and catch those crazy balls over two people in the end zone. That could go straight up if he wants to. That could cut through. That dude is your guy over Jerry Judy. Jerry Judy still has to prove that he is that solid number one. Hopkins has been there and done that. Now he's going beyond that point of, hey, I'm proving I'm no. He wants to prove that he is the best of everyone of this era. That's where he's at now. Forget about just being number one. That's the guy you want to get. Plus, the compensation to pay for him is less than what they asked for Judy. Judy, they just want you to continue to have more and more. Now it's like what you're saying with second and a good player. It's like, damn, bro, I'm good. I'd rather play Hopkins and I'd rather get him.
Is it out there what the Cardinals are looking for D-Hop? I don't even know. In terms of draft compensation?
I haven't heard anything in terms of it, but his contract is so big and mixed with his age, like it's not going to be much. There's not going to be a massive market for him. But again, with the contract he has, I know he said he was open to restructuring it, but again, how much exactly? There's not going to be a whole lot. I don't think
cap
you have to worry about
a concern if you're going to trade for DeAndre Hopkins. I actually have the internal cap number here. Let's see what the current cap number is. The current cap number for New England, pending the Cardona transaction,
19
is
million,
about
right?
$14.4 million.
Yeah, we're pretty low. We're getting pretty low. We're getting pretty low. I kind of figured that.
Not
bad. What do you think, Tom? Who would you prefer?
That's going to be a good question. While DeAndre Hopkins is proven, he's a proven wide receiver one for sure. how are we going to trade for him? With what cap space? As I just mentioned, we only have $14.4 million in cap, and we have to keep $10 million around or so, or a few $1 million at least to sign all our draft picks. And then Jerry Judy, I mean, he's younger, but I mean, he's not as flashy, I guess, as DeAndre. But if I'm Belichick, if I'm thinking like Belichick, maybe all this is a smokescreen. Maybe Belichick's just saying all these nice things about DeAndre because whatever, because that's what he normally says about a player. I mean, this is the man that says that the New York Jets are a fine world-class organization.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you hit on pretty good points there. He loves D-Hop. Maybe he's doing him a favor. Me personally, who would I go with? It's really tough because you're either going with a young player who fits your system really well, but you're giving up a lot of draft capital, or you're going with an older guy you're only going to get for a couple of years, who I think has still high potential, but again, he's old, high contract. You're only getting him for a couple of years. Me personally, it's so tough, and you could tell me the opposite, and I would not tell you you're wrong. They could go with the opposite guy, and I would not be upset whatsoever, but I would roll with DeAndre Hopkins just because, one, you're not giving up as much in terms of draft capital. You're not giving up a first and more. Like, you're still going to have that first-round pick. I would imagine they still have that second-round pick. Maybe it's a conditional second-round pick at best. And so you still are able to go out in the draft and meet your other needs by still getting a wide receiver one. So I think that he's also going to be highly motivated. He was considered one of the best in the NFL, one of the best of our generation. And then the last couple of years, he's been pretty knocked down, especially with injury. And then obviously that suspension with the PED use. So I think he has a lot to prove. I think he's going to be motivated this year. So like getting a guy who was the best receiver just a couple of seasons ago, who's going to be highly motivated, I like that idea. Obviously, he has that connection with Belichick. Belichick loves him. He's willing to take a restructured contract. So I don't know exactly what that number would be when it's restructured, but it wouldn't be as bad still. And he's willing to work on a new contract too. So you have that going for you. And like I said, they haven't done really much of anything to clear up some cap space. All you got to do is clear up a little bit, make a couple of moves, clear it up. One of those is as easy as extending Hunter Henry. I think there's guys that they should extend.
I mean, Pat's Global, to be fair, I'm looking at his internal contract right now from a source, and his cap number is almost $30 million this year.
No, yeah, he has a massive contract. So like it's
and then
it's
you got to convince
where it has
him to come here because he has a no trade clause.
Exactly. Honestly, I don't think I don't know how true this is, but I did hear because of that suspension that actually canceled out his no trade clause. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's something that I was hearing. Either way, I don't think that he would not want to come to the Patriots. I 100% think he would want to come play for the Patriots and Bill Belichick. I don't think that Bill O'Brien situation is as bad as everyone.
I'm curious. It seems like it's all a smokescreen with the whole Bill O'Brien rumors that he's not going to get along.
Yeah.
I think it's hyped up.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
So you make a great point of cap space, right? I definitely agree with you. You gotta find a way to manipulate this cap and do something because he costs a lot. I think it has to go. Multiple things have to go right? You extend Judon, you extend Henry, like PG says. Maybe you try to go up to Trent Brown and be like, "Yo, can we push some of your money towards next year? Let's restructure a little bit. Maybe convert to signing bonus or something." And then you ask Hopkins, "Hey man, can you bump it down a little bit?" Maybe by that point, then you got something.
But we also don't want to be the Saints where we backload all this money and then one year we're $60 million below the cap.
No.
I don't even think that's the approach they're taking because if you look at Juju's contract, if anything, it's more front loaded.
And it's
so
very,
I feel like
it's surprisingly front loaded. They never do that. So that was a surprise. But again,
I have Juju's contract right in front of me, and it's literally he can make like $7 million of that through incentives.
Exactly.
PG, I think it was them was like I think what Belichick thought was like, yo, this is my shot at getting Juju, a potential one, not a one, but a potential one for such a cheap price, and all I gotta do is bid Kansas City this much more. Why not take him? That's what I think he thought. This guy's still explosive. Why not take him from Kansas City? Kansas City's not offering that much.
The Juju contract was great overall, but I mean, even like back to DeAndre Hopkins, just like my last bit is like, even after that PED use, even after coming back slow and the injury, like he still put up a spectacular season. So I would personally go D-Hop. I think there's ways to work around that contract in several different ways, and they have done really none of them. And again, it's not going to be as bad as you're thinking. They're not taking on that entire contract. So, to me, it would just come down to what is that contract number going to be? Depending on that, I would take D-Hop. But want to hit on this last donation before we hop off here. Diehard Pats fan added again a $20 donation, says, does Aaron Rodgers really want to retire as a Jet? I hope he thought about that. I'll just, come out and say that's why I think when he went into the retreat, he was thinking, I'm probably just going to retire. The season wasn't great. I'm kind of just done at this point. I'm burnt out. He literally
said on Pat McAfee, he was like 90-10 of retiring before.
Yeah,
exactly. Like he was there. Like he was going to retire. But when you come out after basically telling everyone and giving them a warning, I'm going to be going into retreat for a few days by myself, dark hole. You come out and you're hearing that the team that you've played for your entire career is looking to trade you to the Jets. That's a gigantic slap in the face. And I think that's why, again, he was motivated to basically show them, okay, you know what? You're going to do this crap. You're going to pull this right now. All right. No respect whatsoever. Clearly, I'll go to the Jets and I'll be motivated to win. So I think right now he's thinking more out of anger than he's thinking out of like, oh, well, I spent my entire career here. Let me be sentimental. So that's kind of my thought on that.
I don't know, man. I don't know if he wants to retire the same year as Tom Brady and then, kind of go into the whole Hall of Fame thing. And
that's a good idea too. That's a good idea.
I don't know how much I'd buy that he was going to retire this year.
You're right, Patriots Global. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't have his no trade clause because he was suspended. I just read his contract. Yep.
Yeah. So that's going to be it, though, for today's live stream. I want to thank each and every single one of you guys, Tom, Reggie, Neil, all y'all for being Patreon members and just taking some time to come on here, talk some Patriots football. Obviously, I'll have you guys back on again. We'll be probably going to try to shoot for another live stream next week. So hopefully have you guys on around that time. But yeah, we got some content dropping. I got a video again dropping tonight here, but little kind of update here on what's going on with Patriots land and some different opinions here. Anything else you guys want to say before we hop off?
I see you, James Noya, the angry manager guy that goes, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? I'm sorry. I was just seeing his name and
Darnell Washington.
He makes these videos of him like role playing as the manager of the New England Patriots. So he screams at Bill and screams at the players whenever they don't do well. Especially that Bears video he made. Oh my God, it was absolutely.
Wait, who is this?
This James Denoya guy that's in the chat. He makes these videos where he pretends to be the manager and he yells at Belichick, he yells at Kraft.
That's elite. That is elite, man.
It's
I'm gonna check those out.
The season when we get upset about the Patriots doing stupid stuff.
James, I'm gonna check those out. That sounds absolutely elite. But all right. I mean, hey, guys, again, thank you for hopping on, guys. Some content dropping tonight, guys. Again, Jerry Judy, Cortland Sutton, there was rumors about that. I have videos on that, have videos on the Juju, James Robinson signing. Check those guys out. But without further ado, guys, always remember, go Pats.